go ahead and just first of all, just thanks for joining us, guys. Today we're going to talk about a lot of exciting Amazon stuff. Dan is a expert with wholesale type selling, so he's going to talk about that a little bit today. Dan also runs the Wholesale Formula, which if you haven't already seen it or heard about it, feel free to check that out. It's really cool stuff, and I'm sure he has a ton of insight for us today. So with that being said, Dan, I'll hand it over to you. If you just want to start with a little better introduction than I gave you, and then you can kind of get going with your presentation.
Sure. First off, can everybody see my screen?
Yep, I think we can see it. I'll let a few people chime in the chat box, but everything looks like it's coming through well to me.
All right. So, yep, I'm Dan Metters. My business partner, Eric Lambert, and I currently operate a multi-million-dollar Amazon business. We source we always say 99% of our products wholesale, but that's just in case there's something that's swirling around in there that we, purchased years ago. But almost everything we do is wholesale now. Like, we don't actually source any other way. And we started off as retail arbitrage sellers. I'll jump into a bit of the backstory as well, and how we kind of grew our business and accelerated our growth.
Okay, excellent.
Anyway, so what we're going to be talking about today is how we make money on Amazon, because I realized that this is a private label crowd. Primarily, Jungle Scout, I think, was created mostly for private label. But we make money selling on Amazon, selling other people's products. And then we put a little funny joke, are you down with OPP, or other people's products? Because that's our entire business. We're not creating brands. We're not doing any of that. We focus on becoming authorized sellers of products for already existing products. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but anyway, it's super exciting. I get super excited talking about this kind of stuff. All right, we'll see if I did it right here. All right, so you're going to notice that my slides are incredibly detailed, like this one. We put a lot of detail in these slides just so to kind of keep ourselves from making any mistakes. But anyway, about our backstory. We started selling in 2011, about August, and it was me and my partner, Eric. We started with a $600 credit card, and one of our buddies had told us about Amazon, and we honestly, I didn't believe that it was a real thing, and so we were like, yeah, we'll try it, who cares? So we got us a little credit card just to start a little business with, and went out and bought some product, sent it in, and it sold so fast, we were like, holy moly, what is going on here? And I'll be honest with you, we're some of the fortunate folks that have that nifty cash out button where you can just push it and cash out and pay off that little credit card we had. And we were able to replicate that process a bunch of times in 2011, even though we had full-time jobs. And we were so confident in the model that we just jumped over, left our full-time jobs and started selling full-time on Amazon in January of 2012. And we were entirely retail arbitrage at that time. We did about $1 million in sales that year, about 850-ish thousand. And then same thing, 2013, we did about 940,000. But one of the things that we noticed was, we were really killing ourselves, putting in hours trying to drive around, because I'm sure you guys can probably tell I'm from Kentucky. We have, there's not a lot of stores where we're from. I mean, we have like one Walmart and one Walgreens and one Kmart. But the closest Target to me is an hour and a half. So it wasn't exactly we were constantly having to drive around to find product. It wasn't exactly a sourcing metropolis for us. And even though all the extra effort we had poured into it in 2013, we only saw about $90,000 in gross sales in terms of growth. And it was just honestly, is a bit disheartening. And we were like, because, physically spent. It was one of those things where we couldn't pour more hours into it. So we were looking to change our model in 2014. And we thought about the different kinds of models. And it's kind of funny because we thought about private label. Didn't feel like we were actually smart enough to do private label. That there's a lot more to it. And so we started with wholesale. And it was about July before we really got started. And we were really worried because, the margins are a bit different. Everything's a bit different with it. So we started our second account so we could track our cost of goods more effectively and make sure our profits from our retail arbitrage side didn't bleed in and kind of skew the numbers. So we started from scratch, and in 2014, just me and Eric, we did about $400,000 in sales and just wholesale product, and ended up at 1.28 million for the year. And honestly, we were so sold into the model. We loved it. It was refreshing. It was one of those things where we realized it was something that we could truly scale. So 2015, we hired a couple of employees. We moved into a slightly bigger space, and then we decided, we are only going to sell wholesale products this year. We were really going to try to concentrate and become experts in this. So once we did that, we did about 3.9 million, I believe, in sales in 2015, and it was it was awesome because the way we focus on wholesale, and I'll jump into it a bit more in depth, but the way we focus on wholesale is we focus on replenishable products. Like, we're not buying closeouts and stuff like that. So all the products that we buy, like, once we set up those accounts, we keep them and we're able to restock them over and over and over. So it's really, really effective in helping us scale because we keep accounts and products for a long period of time. So one of the next things that we did was we decided that, we're going to become even more aggressive. We brought on more employees, and it was really funny because we had spent, all those years at working 70 and 80 hours. And now me and Eric had really just removed ourselves from the process. Like, we started working with virtual assistants and things like that to further reduce our time. And honestly, at this point, I'm pretty sure we work about 10 hours a week on the Amazon business. And it's, everything is just handled by our team. But this year, we're almost at $5 million for the year, and should hit around 8. Like, we're expecting a pretty good Q4. So it should, that gives you an idea about our growth from just at really embracing the wholesale model. And then we'll move along to.
Yeah, so your story is really inspiring.
Yeah,
you've done a fantastic job, so congratulations on that. And I just want to kind of chime in here. I think one of the kind of important things you've gone over is that, like the retail arbitrage or online arbitrage type model. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, it generally means buying things on closeout from, say, Walmart or Target or wherever else and reselling it on Amazon. And there's nothing wrong with this model. As Dan said, he got a fairly sizable business from it. But as he kind of said, it still is, like a full-time job, and it's not like super scalable, right? You never would have been able to get to where you're at now, continuing on that model. So I think it's pretty cool just to see the, how your business has grown and your mentality has kind of changed. So that's really cool.
Yeah, with retail arbitrage, I still think it's a great model for people to get started with. Like, I feel like people can go out there and definitely make great money doing it. But the problem is it's entirely based around sweat equity. Like, you have to be out there beating the streets. You have to be out there finding products. And it's very, very hard to scale. It's even if you're hiring employees to do your sourcing for you, if you're looking at it, you're paying them to drive, you're paying them for all this basically empty labor that doesn't contribute to your business. Whereas we've chosen to pay them for, when our employees come in, our sourcing team comes in, they're researching products, contacting manufacturers. Every minute of their day counts. Like, they're doing something to progress our business every single minute of the day. And that's kind of one of the things that's helped us grow, is because at this point all we've done is multiply ourselves to 8 full-time employees. Like, now there's 8 people doing the job that me and Eric used to do. And even though, we may be, and that doesn't even count our virtual assistants. We have 4 virtual assistants as well. So even though they may not do it, that's one of the things we were worried about initially was they might not do the job as good as we did, but they don't have to. Like, that's the point, is once you're able to focus on coaching and coaching them, that's my primary role in our business now, is we spend our time looking at the bird's eye view of the business and coaching them into our vision, that helps us. We're growing at an exponential rate versus having to invest all that time ourselves. So yeah, that's kind of where our business is today. Is we've grown quite a bit over the past year.
So thanks. Those numbers are incredible and really inspiring. Our audience loves to hear the numbers. So you said 5 to maybe 8 by the end of the year in sales. Can you break that down into what the profit margin is, either your ideal per unit or overall on that?
We typically look for products with about a 30% ROI or better. I promise you, I don't discriminate if it has like 100% ROI. Like, I'm definitely not turning that one down. But realistically, like what we've done, and this is one of the things you can start to look at when you get into wholesale or more volume-based business, is we're able to scale the distance between our net and gross margins a lot through sheer efficiency. Like, we're able to process more products. We're able to do it quickly. We're able to reduce our shipping costs, inbound and outbound, by shipping just bigger shipments. And speaking of it, here's actually one of the shipments that we had going out. I think this was a few months ago. But this is like we ship pallet shipments about 1 to 2 times a week, and this was just one of our outbound pallet shipments. And so I don't know how many people in this room have shipped via freight, but it is so much cheaper than shipping with something like UPS or the parcel services. So that's one of the things that wholesale really allows you to do, is truly scale your efficiency and build in extra margin, or basically shrink the distance between your gross and net margins. And one of the things that we so I said 30% ROI or better whenever we're sourcing. And one of the things you might realize is, once you start getting into the model, is you get a catalog, it doesn't necessarily look as good. Well, there's definitely strategies that'll help you find the right margins on products. So this is our building. Currently 10,000 square foot building. We have a bunch of docks and bays and all that fun stuff. We actually don't use any of them. We primarily just use the giant bay at the end and let them back into our building and just load it off of our forklift. But that's the building we're in now.
I love the behind the scenes look. It's cool for you to include pictures there.
Okay, so with wholesale, so traditional wholesale ideology, and I want to get into what is wholesale as well. So wholesale is basically purchasing business to business to be able to resell a product. So traditional wholesale ideology is you go to the manufacturer, the manufacturer sells to the wholesaler or distributor, who then sells to you, and then you sell the product on Amazon. And whenever we first got into wholesale, this was kind of like one of our hangups, is like we were going to all these distributors and the margins were so tight. Like, you're talking about 12-15% ROIs at best, and it was just a nightmare. And most of the products that just weren't even profitable at all. And there was another problem, is you start looking at, you get these big giant wholesale catalogs and things like that, and some of them don't have UPCs or any of the awesome information that you definitely need to be able to look at and make good, to research the products on Amazon. And particularly with those, it was just awful. Like, you're spending hours and hours going through these gigantic catalogs, finding nothing. And it took about, I think it took about a week of that before we were just like, God, there has to be an absolute better way to do this. I mean, so we shifted our ideology into this. And so whenever at this point, we started purchasing directly from the manufacturer. Now, whenever we're talking about manufacturer, that is definitely different than the traditional private label ideology of a manufacturer. Like when Greg's talking about the manufacturer, he's talking about the factory itself in China that makes the product. Well, when we're talking about manufacturer, we're specifically talking about the person who owns the brand. And we always give the example of, if I was going to purchase a Nike shoe, I would contact Nike directly to purchase their product. More applicably, like if we were wanting to purchase, let's say we found a cool line of Breaking Bad figures. I believe those are made by Mezco. We would contact Mezco directly and purchase from their purchasing department. Now, one really important thing to say is when you're thinking about wholesale or already branded products, it is very, very unlikely that you can purchase these in China and be selling not counterfeit items. So you need to contact the brand owner directly, and that's called chain of custody. It's not it's not a really big deal. It's just you can't thwart the chain of custody for a product, or otherwise you're selling gray market / counterfeit product. So the one thing we always want to make perfectly clear is we want to approach the brand owner directly to sell their product. And then, so anyway, when we moved into this idea, purchasing directly from the manufacturer, it was so powerful. It was one of those things where we found, first off, better pricing. And one of the things that initially we were hesitant about was, we assumed that minimum order sizes would be horrible, but that they would be really, really big. But what we found is the majority of manufacturers, occasionally you're going to find one that has just the outlandish minimum order size, but the average for us has actually been $500 minimum orders, $250 minimum orders. Those are really, really common. And, we generally rarely see one above like $2,000. That's like really the top of the line. So it's not, a lot of these companies do make it very affordable for you to purchase from them directly. And then they have some really good discount structures. And that's one of the things you really have to utilize to be effective in this model, is you have to look at how you can get bigger discounts and things like that to be able to effectively compete on Amazon. So okay, our top 3 factors for when we source products is, number 1, we do not want to compete against Amazon. I do not want to share a buy box with Amazon. They don't play fair. They're not very fun to play with. And we just generally avoid them at all costs, which sounds, like you look at all these products and you say, well, Amazon carries a lot of products. They don't. There's a lot of products that they don't carry too. And those are the ones that we're trying to take advantage of. The number 2 thing is we don't want to sell private label products. Now, the reason that we don't want to sell private label products is because, I'll be honest with you, Greg, I would probably love to sell a lot of your products, but you've put a lot of sweat equity into building those listings. You've spent a lot of money on PPC. You've done all these things to build your own listing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, yeah, why would you ever want to share with me at all? Well, the one of the things is a lot of these, whenever you're talking about more mainstream brands or, not even more niche-based brands, they weren't developing their products primarily to be sold on Amazon. They were developing them for a wide range of markets, and they were just, making products in general. And those are the ones that we want to carry. We want to carry products that have an established brand history and already have an imprint on Amazon. I never, ever, ever, ever create a listing. I don't think we've done it in at least 2 years. And that's one of the things, that's one of the huge benefits for wholesale. And then the third factor is we can sell it numerous times per month. And for, that's going to vary based on a variety of factors. But what we generally try to target is we want to sell the product about 90 to 100 times a month. And what we found is creating that liquidity and that product being able to sell and have that velocity is that it's generally established. You're not going to see large fluctuations. These products generally have great demand all the time, and it's a product that we can just jump in, sell, and sometimes we'll get into it later, but we can make some alterations and changes that will even increase that number. So those are the 3 primary factors we're looking for. And I believe, so one of the tools that we started to have to utilize is because we are very, very replenishment based. I mentioned it earlier that we focused on replenishable products. Well, what that means is products where I can go back to the manufacturer, I can order it again as I need it. So I don't want to carry too much. I don't want to invest too heavily into a product. and we don't buy closeouts. We don't buy end of life cycle product. We are only buying product that we can sell. I like to stock currently for about 30 days worth of inventory. And sometimes we'll go up a little bit, maybe to 45 or 60 days if we're getting a really good discount. But beyond that, we're just placing reorder after reorder after reorder. And what makes it particularly easy is once you're able to set up these accounts, you're able to constantly reorder them and just basically make money again and again and again. But the problem initially we had is we were trying to figure out how many times, like, I didn't want to over purchase inventory. I didn't want to way under purchase inventory. Like, when people always ask us, do you go wide or deep? And it's like, well, I don't know. We actually go correct. Like, we try to stock to our target stock windows and, effectively just continue to do that over and over and over. So I don't know, is that wide or deep or whatever. But we were trying to figure out how can we measure how much of this product that we can sell without committing to large orders initially. And we were going to create our own little software. And then we found a couple other softwares and tested them out, and we came across Jungle Scout. And I can tell you this, from our metrics and our internal sales, Jungle Scout is the absolute most accurate, has the most accurate gauge for how many units a product sells in a month of any software I've seen. So we actually just gave up on developing our own software because it did what we were wanting to do, but did it better. And so I have a lot of respect for you and your software, Greg.
Dan, thanks for that. And I think the tweet of the night is don't go wide or deep, go correct.
I like that one.
I like it. All right, I'll take it back over.
So one of the things that we're doing is we want to look at, so let's say I go to a given product and I'm looking at that particular ASIN. And I bring up Jungle Scout and it tells me that product sells about 400 times per month. Well, I want to look at the amount of sellers that are eligible for the buy box selling it and determine how many units I'm going to sell. So the question you're probably asking is, how do I determine who's eligible for the buy box? So now there's other factors, but if you just do this, it will get you really, really close to correct. Like it will put you really, within very close striking distance of determining what your particular eligibility for that will be. So anybody priced within 2%, any FBA sellers or prime sellers that are priced within 2% of the buy box or 2% of the lowest prime price are generally the sellers that we're calculating as FBA or as buy box eligible. So let's look at this equation again. So we take the sales per month, that 400, and let's imagine that there may be 22 sellers on this product. But if we look at it, they may only have 3 sellers or 4 sellers or something like that are eligible for the buy box. So all we have to do is take that number, take that number plus ourself and divide it by the total sales per month. So it'd be 400 sales divided by 5, which would put us right at really, what is it, 85 or something like that, 90. So we're within striking distance right there of what we're targeting being. Or if there's 4 sellers, 100. If they're counting you, if there were 4, that would be 100 sales per month, and that's exactly where we want to be. So it's not whenever you're looking at this, a lot of people get terrified of what whoa, I don't know if I can do this model because there's a lot of sellers on that listing. The number of sellers doesn't matter at all. It's the number of competitors, and that's one of the things that we learned is if you're competitive with your offers, and you do have to get the correct pricing to do that, you're going to be able to move a high volume of product. So we focus on being able to find the right price with the manufacturers or the vendors to be able to be a competitor for that product and get our fair share of equity in that buy box. So one of the things that I told you earlier is that we've outsourced almost everything. And if I don't care if you're doing private label, I would investigate using a virtual assistant because it can really, really lower your cost. It can really lower your personal cost in terms of sourcing time and things like that. So we're able to outsource the vast majority of our sourcing to our Filipino VAs, and that's approximately $2 per hour. So you're probably wondering, what in the world is this slide? Like, what, shut up and take my money. So the primary concern is whenever you're dealing with these vendors and you're finding that, you're finding these awesome products and you're seeing maybe 10 sellers, 8 sellers, 7 sellers, or whatever, you contact them and they don't want your orders. They don't want to do business with you. They feel like they have great representation as is, or whatever reason it is. These products are generally very gated, and these companies protect their brands. Used to, whenever we would originally reach out to companies and they would tell us no, we would just be like, shucky darn, and hang up the phone and, mully grub around a bit and, kick dirt, and then try to call somebody else and try to do it again. And well, now, whenever they tell us no, we actually love that, because it means they're telling everybody no. So we've came up with some strategies that help us get accepted. And ultimately what happens is that means that product's going to be really good for a long period of time. So if you want to get approved for wholesale accounts, what you should do is you should focus on adding value to their brand. And this is something that I found that private label sellers are actually the best at, because what do private label sellers do? They research keywords. They're exceptionally knowledgeable of that. They optimize listings incredibly well. They take great pictures. All of the things to optimize listings and help. They know they know a lot about PPC and driving traffic, and these are all skills that these companies need. For example, one of the things that we do to help companies is if we identify that your reviews aren't up to par, like you don't have enough reviews, we organically get them more reviews, or we may even send their product through. We've actually definitely sent products through ReviewKick before to help them get some reviews. But that's what these companies are looking for. Is they're looking for somebody that's not only placing orders, but they're also coming in there and making changes for the better. And whenever you're able to do that, so what does this do for us? I'm sure a lot of people have heard about all these silly brand restrictions and all the wild stuff that's going on Amazon right now. Well, in our space, we couldn't be in a better position, because all of the vendors that we work with love us. Like we're working with them. They know who we are. They know where we sell. Like we are very upfront about what we do, and then we legitimately try to help their brand become a better, powerful, and a more strong selling product on Amazon. So they want us selling their product. So these whenever we get asked, like if we ever get asked for letters of authorization or whatever, it's one phone call, and then we're able to continue selling that product forever. So it's not, this is a great way around that. And even though that I do believe, that there are changes being made, I'm not saying that I don't think the arbitrage models work or anything like that. It's just, you do have to make some adjustments, and you're going to have to change what you're doing just a bit. But with wholesale right now, honestly, for us, it's the best place to be. Like we got asked for some letters of authorization and invoices. All we did was make a phone call, and then we actually have a template on file now. Like we just send it to them. They put their letterhead on it, sign it, and send it back to us. We send it to Amazon, and they get everything they need to continue letting us sell this product. So right now, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't want to cut you off, but it seems like there are some questions about, I guess, your business and wholesale in general. One of the most burning questions really is, you mentioned going straight to the manufacturer. Is that something that we're going to dive into later, or?
Yeah, well, I mean,
cover some of that now.
It's super. I mean, yes, we will talk about it whenever, because I'm going to do some actual live sourcing for you guys. But yeah, I mean, it's very simple concept. Like whenever we talk about, for example, if I was buying the what's that figure called? Breaking Bad figures. I would contact, because they are made. That license is owned, or that license is purchased and owned by Mezco. I would contact Mezco directly and set up an account with them, rather than utilizing somebody like, the common people you always hear about are EE Distribution, Shepherd Distribution. Well, their pricing isn't sharp enough to let us make money. So we want to go direct to Mezco and work for any discounts that we can possibly get. Also, it's going to help us further down the line whenever we're trying to get more approvals or something like that. And
sure.
One of the things that we found is, and this goes back to right here, is whenever you're dealing with distributors, it literally, the only thing they care about generally is moving more units, because they're a very, very volume-based business. Whenever you approach the owner of a brand and you're telling them, hey, I've identified these problems and I really do feel like I can help you in these specific areas, that's something that they resonate on, because they know that the impact for that is huge. They understand that is, you're making their brand more valuable. Like, for example, if I came to Greg and I told him, hey, I could do these things and it would make your brand sell 3 times better, and I could show him examples of doing that, like, then he actually might consider selling me that product, because it's going to help his overall brand. But these a lot of these companies just aren't interested in selling their own products on Amazon. So if you're telling them, and you can show them examples, and that's one of the things that we always try to teach people is, don't just tell them, show them. Like, you need to show live examples of the things you're going to improve to change. Then you're going to have a lot better success rate with these brands, because they resonate to those changes. They want, they want their brand to be improved.
So is that, like, say you suggested Breaking Bad, and that sounds like you have more of a product idea, so you go to the manufacturer. Do you have a directory of manufacturers or a website that you often like to reference, kind of like the equivalent of Alibaba for overseas manufacturing?
Oh, I mean, this is going to sound super funny, but Google. Like, that honestly, our entire business is built around Googling a manufacturer's name. Whenever we get onto the sourcing, I'll show you guys, how easy this actually is. It literally, on the Amazon page, it tells you who makes the product or who owns that brand. So we just contact them directly. Like, I just, if it says Mezco on one of those Breaking Bad figures, I just contact Mezco and ask them about becoming a vendor for them. So it's really, I mean, honestly, like I said, we're just 2 Kentucky guys that didn't feel like we could do private label. But this is, our model is very, very easy, and that's also what's really helped us scale, because we're able to teach this to employees and continue just to basically grow the amount of products that we're looking at.
Hey, Dan, I'm going to chime in real quick here, because I've seen a few different questions about this in the chat box. It seems like there's a lot of, and I'll kind of just like touch on this real quick, a lot of people are hesitant about hiring like a VA or employees to help you grow, because they're worried they're just going to take this business model and do it themselves. And I'll personally say that this was like a hesitation of mine at one point, but you have to get past it and just understand that a lot of people aren't entrepreneurial type people. They enjoy having like job security and having jobs, or they don't have startup capital, or there's a lot of reasons that people would like to work for someone else. So you just have to get over that fear, because it very rarely ever happens, and I think it's like a mental roadblock for a lot of people being able to scale up. And number 2, a lot of people say like, are you worried about people? Dan has had like an excellent point here about going to people, manufacturers, and saying, this is why like I'm a good candidate to sell your particular product, and it's because I can help you on Amazon. I've done it before. I can help you get reviews. I can make recommendations how to improve the listing and so forth. And people are, some people in the chat are saying, like, aren't you worried about telling them about selling on Amazon? And the truth is, if you talk to some of these manufacturers, it's not in their business model to get good at selling on Amazon. They're worried about launching new products. They're worried about patents. They're worried about like all this other kind of stuff. They don't have time or the resources or the knowledge or someone in their particular company, to like optimize Amazon. They probably don't understand how powerful the channel is and so forth. So same thing, like I would highly recommend you get past these kind of like mental barriers, because it's what it takes to kind of like get going and scale up and so forth. So I just want to touch on that real quick because I saw some chatter about it.
No, I mean, that's so true. And we definitely faced that same hesitation early on as well, where we were considering hiring employees and, well, what would happen. But ultimately, the deciding factor is, for us, was we were trying to figure out, like, what happens if an employee comes in, leaves our business, and it's like, it doesn't really change anything. We focus on building, our focus is on building a brand, not just a one-hit wonder idea. Like what we do is we're focused on becoming ultimate brand partners for companies. And that takes a lot of, energy, and it takes a lot, you have to have vision to do it. And, like Greg said, a lot of people aren't that entrepreneurial when it comes to wanting to have that vision. But also think about this. Think about it from this perspective. If you are so afraid of having your business model compromised, what are you, and one person could do that, what are you trying to protect? Like, instead of worrying about that, you should be thinking of ways to improve your model to make it more sustainable. And to go to the question, that's a common question we get too, is aren't you worried about telling people how to sell on Amazon? No, like, to be honest with you, we go very in depth with our manufacturers and vendors. We're an open book on I tell them about Jungle Scout. I tell them how many times their product sells on Amazon. I tell them what the exact changes we're going to make. I tell them everything. And it's not because, honestly, I have no fear. That's actually happened to us 2 times ever. When at this point, we work with hundreds of manufacturers. But I want them to understand they need me. Like, they, just like Greg said, they're concentrating on their patents, they're concentrating on upcoming lines, they're concentrating on their global marketing initiatives that drive demand of that product. So I want them to.
Sorry, just in the interest of time, do you think we can kind of look over your shoulder as you go through the sourcing process yourself?
Sure, absolutely. What am I at on time? I actually can't see the time.
It's 4:40, and we generally try and do an hour and include Q&A.
Okay. I'll just zoom through these. All right. So one of the things about our warehouse is, if we had it to do all over again, we definitely would not have a warehouse. We would have went with a much more efficient model. We would have went through prep centers and things like that, and probably just had a couple of employees to contact manufacturers. So with our business model, we are able to outsource the sourcing and product research. And now with prep centers, you're able to outsource the shipping and processing. And then the only thing left remaining is getting approved to sell products and contacting companies to develop those awesome relationships. So Dylan's going to come in here and get me back to where I need to be.
Yep, tech guy coming in to pull up.
While you do that, I'm just gonna say one thing, because this is like what resonated most with me, Dan, is that most people would stop when they get when a manufacturer says like, no, sorry, we don't want to sell to you. And like, I love like the hustle that and the drive that you have. That it's like, hey, actually, no, I'm going to keep telling you why I am the perfect fit and why I can make it so much better. So that's really cool. But yeah, go ahead.
So that's honestly, we love that part. I love being told no, because it gives us it gives us a chance to show them what we're talking about. It gives us a chance to set ourselves apart in the marketplace, because a lot of people are afraid to tell them how to fix their brands and things like that. Whereas we're an open book, and it really makes us look a lot different. So I'll just jump into some sourcing here. And one of the ways that we source is we look at competitors that carry products that are either similar to ours, or we see them heavily invested into certain niches. Now, I'll be honest with you, nobody get angry with me. I don't do a lot of sourcing anymore. We have 2 guys internally, and then we have 4 virtual assistants that handle the majority of our sourcing. So this morning I went over to Matt and I was like, hey man, I need a little bit of a cheat sheet here. I need to know some of the sellers that you've researched recently. And he was telling me, that he researched 911 Health Shop, because they had products in the health and personal care niche, particularly relating to vitamins and vitamin C. like because we really like vitamin C right now. It's one of the it's products that do very well for us. So this was just somebody that he had actually researched, and I figured this would be kind of fun to go through it too. So we go to their storefront, and one of the ways that you can find is to go just to Google their thing and their name, and you can go directly to their storefront. Anybody on Amazon. So you just all we do is identify awesome sellers that sell in key niches where we don't necessarily know enough about it. So, all right. So Dylan was kind enough to extract the first page here, and all we're looking for here, the primary things is we are looking for estimated sales. This number is more important when I'm doing blind searching, because what I want to do is I'm just going to generally go to the link. This is why I love Jungle Scout, is because we're going to go here. I'm going to extract multiple pages of inventory, which just helps make our job significantly easier. And this is honestly why this is a tool that we can't live without. First off, it gives us this number. And as I mentioned earlier, I've not found a single software that gives a more accurate representation of that number than Jungle Scout. I mean, it's by far the best for us.
Sure. So people who can't see the mouse, I think Dan is referring to the sellers column, correct? And then estimated sales. Right.
The primary one that we originally care about is estimated sales, particularly when we're going through a store. And I'm just going
to zooming in a little bit. It might help people see what's going on.
Okay. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, I did for you.
Fantastic. Thank you. And then, so just to reiterate what you were talking about earlier, can you just mention the sales formula you were talking about? Estimated sales divided by sellers?
Right. Estimated sales divided by the amount of actual competitive sellers selling this product. So I'll give you guys a real live example right here. I'm going to move that guy out of the way, and we're going to go to this product right here, the lipospheric. I think it's by Live On, and our internet's a touch slow. So as you can see, there's 13 sellers selling this product, and Jungle Scout estimate was that it sells 3,222 times per month. Well, I don't care how many people are actually selling that product. I care about the amount of people that are competitive on this product. So we're looking for people within 2% of the buy box. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is a merchant fulfilled offer, and generally we're not going to worry about that because we're always going to be an FBA offer or prime eligible offer, which is going to give us a little bit of buy box priority. So I'm going to do a quick calculation here. So $29.95 times 1.02% is anybody that is priced above this. I don't consider to be a live competitor. I don't consider that to be somebody that is going to get an equitable share of the buy box. So really all we're looking at is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total sellers. Now, with those 6 total sellers, they are currently splitting 3,222 sales total. So now we have to consider the fact that we're going to add ourselves into this equation, right? I'm going to bring my calculator over again. So what we're going to do is 3,222 total sales divided by 7 sellers. That includes us. And we're looking at potentially being able to sell this product 460 times a month. So imagine if theoretically, if I'm able to operate on a 30% ROI on this product, let's say I'm purchasing it for around $15 or something like that, and expect a 30% ROI. Like I would be realizing that $4.50 or whatever, 460 times per month. And this is simply, once I set this account up, I would be able to place reorders. So anyway, that part's I love that part because it's super fun, super attractive. But what we're doing is all we're going to do is go to that specific seller's page. We're going to extract every single item in their store, and then we're going to sort with estimated number of sales to just look at basically the best items. Here's another item. So for example, this would be an item where I would potentially contact Live On directly and try to get set up with them. Now, I know Live On is really aggressive with not wanting resellers, but if you approach them from the right angle, that potentially is that's who I want. I want these companies that are very hard to, that are very, very stringent about not wanting resellers, because that provides a huge opportunity for me. It lets me get in there and just realize that profit for a long period of time. So same thing we're going to look at now with Amazon on the listing. If I notice that their price is real and things like that, it's probably going to be a product we just generally avoid. So I would suggest going on. And we're going to continue on. We're going to look at Mr. George's aloe vera. And so what we're looking for is whenever we're looking for, again, Amazon is on this product, so probably just avoid it and continue moving on. I'll just bring up a couple different listings so we don't have to go back individually. So we're going to go back. Now, where I saw Amazon on this other listing, I would be a little more hesitant. But generally, if the product still would qualify, I would go ahead and write that down and potentially contact Organic India. And one of the things I'm going to do when I contact them is I'm going to ask them, pretty simply, do you sell directly to Amazon? And if they do, maybe a product that we don't carry. But if they tell us no, that we used to sell to Amazon, you'll be surprised how many companies used to sell to Amazon and just don't like doing it, because Amazon's a big monster to deal with, as opposed to dealing with a small company. It's much easier for these businesses to deal with a few small companies rather than Amazon, because we're a lot less stringent about the requirements to send product to us and things like that. So this would definitely be a product that I would write down and consider sourcing. Similarly with this Great Lakes here. Now you have to look that you're actually on frustration-free packaging and switch over to standard packaging. Frustration-free packaging, for anybody that doesn't know, is a special pilot program by Amazon that you have to get approved for. So it looks like, okay, so here's another cool thing, is if you look at this product, it looks like it's mapped at $43.98. And what map means is the manufacturer says that you're not allowed to sell our products below this price. And what makes you think that is because look at every single seller, they're selling at $43.98. So I would estimate that to be the map for this product. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through and see how many sellers sell this product that are Prime eligible, and that looks to be about 15. And then go back to our Jungle Scout estimate. And this product sells about 1,800 times per month. And so now there's going to be 16 sellers. So you can see we would be able to sell this product over 100 times a month. So that would be a company I would contact, is Great Lakes. I mean, that's an exact product. That's the exact kind of product that we're looking for. And this is how, it's a bit different whenever you're looking at wholesale, is you're not focused on, you have to understand that the buy box is something that you can work with, something using a tool like Jungle Scout that you can get a barrier for how much you can physically sell of that product. So that's one of our primary sourcing methods, is going through, and I don't want to run too much over on time, so I'm going to try to pick it up a touch. Yeah.
Sorry, so just to clarify about the buy box and that matted product. So $43.98, there are 15 sellers. Are you assuming that you're going to get one rotation if you price at $43.98 for that product? Or are you hoping to, and then you have to do some other optimizations to make that happen?
No, so for example, if I went in and I sold this product for $43.98, I'm definitely going to get some shares of the buy box. It may not be completely equitable, but it will be close. Like I saw for example, that E-Tails sells that product. Now, E-Tails is going to get the buy box a bit more than me because they're a much bigger seller than I am. River Colony Trading, same thing. So they may edge out on an extra 2% in the buy box and here and there, but for the most part, you're going realistically, if you look at a product and it says, say there's 10 sellers and it's 100 total sales, you can realistically expect to get about 10 sales because you're going to get a certain percentage of that buy box equity. So that's what we're banking on. And then, we go ahead and place our initial order using our estimates from Jungle Scout. And once it comes in, we're able to get, again, we're just ordering 30-day supplies. So it's not like we're buying significantly deep. Now, let's say that we get a little bit less equity. We get 5% less equity than we originally expected. It may mean we have 33 days of inventory, and we understand that going into our next order. So it's the more that, we want to be as close as possible on that initial order. But after that, our own metrics are going to tell us exactly what we need to reorder.
Got it. And so if there is no mat for the lowest price, do you ever find that your margins are really hurt by a race to the bottom, so people kind of make sure that they get more of the buy box?
Not generally. The places you generally see the race to the bottom happen is more in arbitrage, where there's big differences in the prices that people are paying for product. For example, if I go to Walmart and purchase the product and utilize a bunch of coupons and a bunch of other awesome tricks to get big discounts, and for example, you don't go get those discounts and you have that same product, you're going to see me be a lot more aggressive. But what we've noticed with wholesale is that most people generally, the price is very, very close into what you're paying or I'm paying or something like that. So there's a lot less fluctuation, a lot less general race to the bottom. And again, I love vendors who tell me no. So there's not, an influx of new sellers all the time. So yeah, I mean, you will see some fluctuation, but it's nothing like an arbitrage product for us. It's generally more controlled, and at that point, all we're doing is trying to get to the best possible pricing that we can. And I'll be honest with you, whenever you start leveraging the fact that you're the guy helping fix their listings, you're the guy doing, this favor, getting their pictures and things like that, they're much more inclined to work with you and give you better discounts than if you're not. So cool. That's one of the specific advantages.
Cool. A few questions about finding the manufacturer. So you're saying that you start browsing on Amazon to look for products as opposed to vice versa, as opposed to starting on Google looking for manufacturers. Is that correct?
Exactly. Let's look at that. Just look at my screen right here, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So if you go and you see, Ridgecrest, Clear Lung, Strength, Homeo, Herbal Decongestant. It's made from Ridgecrest. You look at the picture and it's Ridgecrest. All I'm going to do is I'm going to copy Ridgecrest. I'm going to go to Google. I'm going to search for Ridgecrest herbals. And right there. I apologize about our internet, guys. But
no worries. I was just going to say, so if I were to summarize kind of this whole step in one or two paragraphs, and I think I can answer a lot of the questions in the chat by doing this. So Dan's starting on Amazon to find products. He's finding products that Amazon does not sell, that there's a good amount of sales, that if he rotates an equitable amount of time through the buy box, whoever else is competing for the buy box, that there's still a good amount of number of sales. After finding those products, you're just Googling the manufacturer to find the manufacturer. Most of the time, right away, or a lot of the time, they'll say, no, I'm not selling this product to you. We're already selling it on Amazon. And that's, I think, the most important thing Dan said this whole webinar is, instead of saying no for an answer and leaving, he's saying, hey, wait a second. By selling to me, I have all these advantages. I can help you make a better listing. I've done it before. I can help you get more reviews, blah, 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 all this stuff. So that would be the big picture overview if I were to recap a lot of the things that Dan said. And I think maybe some people have missed some of that during the webinar. So I'll give it back to you.
So anyway, particularly with this product right here, the Ridgecrest, there's the contact information. You just go to their website, go to the Contact Us, and then we send them our virtual assistants send them an email that says, we would like to become an approved vendor for your products. Please let us know what information you would need to be able to make that, basically make that happen. So, and they'll get back to you, a lot of the times they're, we're not interested, we're not currently taking any more vendors, etc. And as I said, that is a huge bonus for us. We get super pumped when we hear that. And then we come back and we give them more details about what we want to do, some of the things we're going to do to help grow their sales and grow their business. So
So
yeah, it's really that easy. I mean, we just go to Google. It's as far as finding who makes the product, it is super easy.
Dan, so a lot of these people on the webinar may not already have like accounts like you do. So you were showing in the buy box that there are a lot of sales and sales history. What would you recommend for somebody who's just starting out, who doesn't have that profile strength when reaching out to manufacturers? I guess we kind of covered that, but then also competing on the buy box, I assume a newer seller might not get the same rotations as somebody who's more established.
Right. I mean, you're definitely going to get a little bit less rotation. Like for example, let's say that I mean we get about I don't know what's considered big. We currently get about 1,200 feedback per month on one of our accounts. And let's say that you're a new seller and you're sharing the buy box with us. We're probably going to get about let's say it's just us. We're probably going to get maybe 55 total, or 55% of that buy box, whereas you're going to get 45. But the point is, as you're able to grow and as you're scaling your business, you're still getting sales. Like you're still getting your sales, and you just simply make that a part of your calculation. If you see bigger sellers on there, maybe tone your order down just a touch versus your traditional order. And then but once you establish that account, and let's say that you end up getting 45% of that equity, it really is as easy as just placing a reorder once a month for that product. You've basically established a line of income for a product line. And one of the things that I mentioned about it being very similar to private label, the skills translate really well. Like our gross margins look a lot worse, but honestly, like you're an awesome private label seller. How much do you generally spend in PPC and things like that to build your listings?
Yeah, I mean, it depends obviously from product to product, but yeah, getting a listing going can be fairly expensive. If you factor in all the PPC, a lot of times I'll lower the cost to get initial sales as well as do giveaways to get the initial reviews. So there's definitely some costs associated with getting a listing going, which isn't true with wholesale, which is one of the advantages of it.
Right. For us, it's easier. It's easier to get into. I'm not taking anything away from private label. I think it's a great model, particularly once you're able to get going and really share, or really be able to create those listings, do so effectively, and have the necessary money to get it going. But I think a lot of the skills are super similar. Do you want me to go through one more little sourcing technique?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. I think we still have a few more minutes.
All right. So I'll actually just go through two, but I'm going to do them real fast. So another thing we might get is if we hear about a product line. Like if I hear something about a product line, you can search that product line on Amazon. And like this is a brand that has a lot of products. Like that's actually what I heard is, they have a lot of products. We're going to go up here to Jungle Scout, and I'm able to extract that entire brand and just go through and find the products that fit my target sales requirements, and filter out all the junk and stuff like that. Like that's one of the ways that we also source, is we're also looking at just particular brands and sourcing out that way. And then another thing, and I'll tell you, this one's kind of funny, but funny, not so funny. Like I'm a bald guy, and let's say I was looking for hair growth personally. Well, this is definitely a niche. And we do a lot of niche searches. Like if I hear something about, vegan dog food or just, hair growth or something like that, like we'll do searches for that. And then we're just going to Jungle Scout it out and see what products would fit our criteria. And that's, honestly, we get a lot of silly products that do incredibly well just by surfing these awkward niches where, it's dominated by, for example, this has 51 sellers. So that sounds terrible, right? For the private label folks, that sounds terrible. I actually looked at this product earlier. I cheated. So $8.98 is the current buy box price. Like if you look at all these 51 sellers, I'm bringing it over again. So $8.98 times 1.02. is 915. So we're literally only going to look at 1, 2, 3, 3 total sellers as competitive. Like so let's look back at this product. It sells 2,900 times a month. We expect to split some equity of sales with that with 4 sellers. So if we got even equity, we're going to sell that product about 750 times a month. Like this is that product may be below your ordinary price thresholds or whatever. And that's another thing is you can just sort, like, that's another thing I love about this tool. If whatever category you're wanting, you can just sort to it and really nail down exactly what you're looking for in terms of in terms of what you're trying to source. You want me to turn off the screen share or anything like that?
Just mentioned avoiding 1 and 2 sellers.
Okay. Yeah, Dylan said I should mention. Am I still screen sharing?
Yeah, you are.
I'll just chime in here real quick, just to answer a few questions. There's a few questions people had about if you ship directly from the manufacturer to Amazon, and I can kind of chime in on that. Dan was saying he does have a warehouse now, but if he were to do it all over again, he would just use one of the fulfillment or prep facilities or whatever they're called. So what he's saying is now a whole nother line of businesses that have popped up that you could ship it to your garage or to your warehouse or wherever else, but then there's also companies now that will receive your shipments from the manufacturer, prep it for you, put on your labels, whatever you need to do, and then send it into Amazon for you. So that's kind of a little bit easier way to get started.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, we do have a number of manufacturers that ship direct to Amazon for us. Like we just print off the labels and send them to them. No, and that's definitely no problem. But if it requires prep or something like that, like we want to do that in-house to make sure it's prepped correctly. But as I said, nowadays I would send that stuff to a fulfillment center or to one of the prep centers to handle our prep.
Any by name that you like or recommend?
We always use, we tested with and always have used Prime Zero Prep. Like those guys are really awesome, based in New Hampshire. And if you have any online arbitrage sourcing people in here, they're in a tax-free state, and that's whenever we were still doing a little online arbitrage, we shipped all of our online arbitrage items there, so we wouldn't have to pay taxes for those purchases. So just a cool little hack if you guys are out there in the crowd doing a little OA. Like it's funny because if I ship 6% sales tax in Kentucky, so if I was shipping my items here, I was paying on a $20 item $1.20 in sales tax. And he was charging $1 an item. It's like, well, I can just ship it to him and actually make 20 cents. Like literally just make 20 cents by shipping it to him. And that's how that started. We were starting to do a little more online arbitrage at the time. And I thought it'd be more fun and profitable to just go ahead and send him the product so we wouldn't have to deal with it.
Nice. I think we have time for just 1 or 2 other questions. This has been fantastic. Before I forget to say that, Dan, I know I've personally learned a lot, so that's really cool. And it looks like everyone else has too. Can you expand a little bit on any the strategies that you use to get the factories to sell to you after you said no? I know you said like you help them get reviews. Can you just go over or maybe expand a little bit more on the other things you do to help, try to get them to sell to you?
Honestly, it's here's the trick that we always tell people, and it's don't be generic, be direct. Like you want to be. I want to look at their product and I want to tell them what's wrong with it. Like you have to be relatively open book and say, and let's say that they're telling you that we're not taking any more other Amazon vendors or whatever, and you identify these. Let's say there's 2 or 3 core problems that would make them more sales, more profit, and you bring those to them and do like, I understand that you're not taking other Amazon sellers because you think you have enough Amazon sellers, but we're not an Amazon seller, we're a partner. Like, and this is what we're going to do for you. We're going to take these specific examples. These are things that are actively broken on your listing. And if you don't want to sell to me, if you don't want to sell me product, even though I'm willing to help you, and I want to do this for every product you carry, you should take this to one of your vendors and have them fix it just so you can see a sales increase in that channel. And when they see you that you're willing to do that level of commitment to their product, like, I'm not even selling this product yet and I'm willing to help them, that's whenever they'll generally give you a chance. So like we just try to do very targeted examples. Like
yeah,
we don't.
That's cool. That's like a proven psychology method too. That like before even like if they say no to you, instead of right away or like right away you just give them like value, like, hey, here's, it's fine if you don't want to sell to me, but here are 3 things you really need to improve upon on your listing. And then people feel like compelled without even asking them, like, dude, this guy just helped me out a lot. Like, maybe we should sell to him. And it seems like he knows what he's talking about. I also like the tip on how you said, like, think of us as your partner. Like, we don't want to sell to you as another one of your clients or customers. We're your partner. We want you to sell more on Amazon. That's cool.
Yeah, there's the mental trigger. That one is it's reciprocity. Like they want to reciprocate that awesome behavior and help you out too. And then whenever we start selling the product, we show them examples of what we did, and it always helps. I mean, that's why you make those changes. That's why those changes are recommended.
Cool.
It's fantastic. Dan, I'm sold. I got $1,000 to do wholesale. What would I do? How would I spend $1,000? Particular categories to look at, products, trends, how to spend that money?
Honestly, the first thing, this is not a joke, the first thing I would recommend you do is take, I think it's, $147 of that, invest into Jungle Scout, so to help you source faster and more effectively and not overbuy products and waste your money.
I didn't set you up on that one.
We didn't want sales page. If it wasn't for that one, you do.
But after you did that, go to Amazon and just start searching niches. Like, if you hear something weird, if you hear something funny, that like you're like, yeah, you read this stuff every day, or you watch the news, or whatever it is. Like, you hear something awkward that you've never heard before, go to Amazon and search for it. I promise you, it's always ridiculous. Like, if you read about it, it's always insanity. We've sold the craziest products, like just things that nobody, that's our guys, like whenever they're processing our products, they always get tickled because it's it's a hodgepodge of random stuff, like just completely random crap that nobody's ever heard of that sells super well in those niches. So what I would suggest, search a niche and start to find a seller that's invested in that niche, and then see what he carries and see what hits. You want to carry products that sell very well, so you're not tying. Don't tie your money into dead inventory. Look for things where you can sell the product and turn your capital over and be able to reinvest it again. So that's exactly how.
That's a good tip.
That's fantastic. Thank you. And so we would be aiming for, basically, say we put in $1,000, 30% ROI, so become $1,300, and then compound from there. That's kind of the strategy that you're.
Now, if you find, here's another pro tip. If you find something with higher than a 30% ROI, definitely buy it. Like, that's just kind of the low that we go for. Whenever we see whenever I see 70%, I'm like, nah, I make too much money on that one. I'll go on. No, we don't do that at all. Like, we'll definitely buy that one too. So it's super, find the best margin for the money you have. But yeah, if it's 30%, I mean, what you're going to do is, if you're investing that 30% month over month, like, it's going to be, 1,000, 1,300. I'm way too not good at math to continue this out, but it will compound itself into, very quickly, because what we're doing is we're purchasing very limited supply, months worth of inventory, and just reinvesting it over and over and over.
Awesome. All right, we have time for one more question. Dan, I know your time's valuable, so we'll let you go after that. There's been a few things. Of course, big news in Amazon lately is the brand registry thing. If you just had to describe in just 1 minute how that's going to affect sellers and what your thoughts are on it, what would you say?
Well, first off, for the wholesale crowd, I promise you this is nothing but awesome. Like, all it does is it actually makes it harder for more people to jump on the product, gives suppliers potentially a little bit more control of their products. And being an approved seller and being basically a stand-up business is going to help you a lot in the long term. But as far as general impact is concerned, let's say you're a retail arbitrage seller, online arbitrage seller, do I think it's like the end or anything like that? Absolutely not. There's so many products on Amazon that you just need to find other ways to source. You need to find other products to source that aren't restricted. One tip I would definitely give a retail or online arbitrage seller right now, particularly when a lot of this stuff is unknown, is don't go too deep on anything in anticipation for like Q4. I would probably go a lot wider than deep, because if something gets restricted, you really don't want to be heavily invested in that product heading into the busiest time of the year. So kind of spread out and mitigate your risk rather than investing super heavy if you're arbitrage based.
Awesome. Good tips. Dan, thank you so very much. If anyone, just real quick, I know Dan just mentioned the price of Jungle Scout Pro. We actually are releasing some new features soon. It's now it also works in Germany, and it's going to start working in a whole bunch of other countries in the next few weeks. So we actually are increasing the price probably at the end of next week. So if you're on the fence, I would recommend if you want to get it before the price increases, it would probably be a good time to do it. I think Gen dropped a link in the chat there with also a $20 discount that'll be good till the end of the week if you guys are interested in it. Dan, if people want to find out more about you, how can they learn more or contact you if you allow that, or anything else?
We have a variety of contact methods. First off, our website, www.thewholesaleformula.com. So I don't know why I said www. That's always the worst thing to say. But thewholesaleformula.com. That'll take you to our website. You can get on our mailing list. Like we send out some cool stuff sometimes about products we're looking at, or just whatever we think is really interesting and progressive for people's businesses. We also have a free Facebook group. It's called FBA Wholesale Community. We interact in there. There's a lot of awesome people in there. I think we have like 8,000 members in that community. Awesome people. So jump in there. And then we have our Facebook page, The Wholesale Formula, and it's just we post there every day. Awesome articles or we have something called Tips of the Day, and it's just things that we've learned that have definitely helped our own business. So it's just all it's all free information. Like to share it with everybody. So just check it out.
Awesome. Yeah, and I can vouch for your email list. I always love when you send out stuff. I always get good value out of that, so thanks for that. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. We went a little longer tonight, but I didn't want to cut off Dan too early because he was dropping all the value bombs. So thanks again. I seriously mean it. This was an incredible webinar. I learned a lot. It's like tons of really actionable information. So thank you so much for that, Dan. Again, anything I'm forgetting before we go?
No, man, it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, no, Dan, I really appreciate the time. We will be sending out a replay to this webinar. It will be on YouTube. And yeah, the offer is going to be good through Friday night. But anyway, just email support@junglescout.com if you have any questions. But thanks again for everything.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks again, Dan. See you guys next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye, guys.